Did you sleep in your car or lock yourself in a room to get the feeling of being trapped at any point writing the script?
I mean, when I was writing, I locked myself in a small room mostly. Uh, no, you know what I did? It's funny. I owned the exact car that we used. And what I did do is I would sometimes just go, so, what can I use? You know, I picked the car for a few different reasons. Um, One, as I was doing my research and where it was supposed to take place in Norway, I saw this car as the Land Rover. I don't even know if they want me to say Land Rover, but I saw this car as a car that would be rented or would be used to kind of off-road or go into kind of mountains and do a little bit of exploring. It also was a car that had so many windows. It's a wall of windows on every side and two sunroofs. And I thought that would be very advantageous for us as far as lighting and, just making the environment still feel claustrophobic, but kind of bring, the elements closer, feeling the snow right on top of us. And then also I had the car, so if we didn't raise enough money and I needed to just wreck my car, I would. But it was the perfect. I showed it to the DP and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is perfect. Look at all these windows." And it showed up when you when you Google image the area of Norway, like the car would show up places. So. But as I was writing, I would go into the car and I would sit in the driver's seat and I would be like, okay, so they're here and this is what happens and what do I use? What can I do here? Like, what would I do? Where would I put things? Like, where would I do this? There's a moment in the film that we all not argued about. We had one producer who's always like, "Oh, I hate this scene," where this also wasn't in the original script, but one of my first things reading and doing it was like, so where do you go to the bathroom in something like this? And then I was like in the car and I'm like, so I guess I would go back here and I would put it in here and then where would I want to put this? Where would I want to put all of our bathroom waste? Like I would want to separate that from somewhere else. Like I'd probably want to put my food somewhere farther away from where my bathroom waste goes. So, did I sleep in the car overnight to just kind of feel what it's like? No, but I did go constantly down to my car and sit in the environment and write and come up with ideas or like I'd go here and I would go there and I would, and pull on this and break this and, how can you get out this way or, So it was very helpful to kind of put myself in this space for scene work, for action in writing, in blocking, and definitely when it came to kind of shot listing for the film, the DP and I would go look at the car and take our phones out and be like, okay, like, can we get a camera here? And he'd be like, no, because your phone is a lot smaller than the camera, so we got, we have to do this. But it was great to have that. You can't always just put yourself in a setting and have it be as close to what really happens. But I have found that when writing other things, putting yourself, even like kind of taping out an area or saying, okay, I'm in a room that's only this big, so how do I imagine, like, what can I do in here, or what would my character do in this, in this space?
And what was it about the year, was it 2002, that you felt you wanted to do it sort of, Was it because maybe the technology wouldn't have been as strong, so they would have trouble contacting someone? I found that very interesting. I was actually intrigued by that.
You know,
it was 2002.
It was 2002, and it goes back to the original concept of the movie was you would flash to these interviews of family members talking about what happened in the car, and that would take place 15 years later. There was a docu-style interview that would kind of cut in and out of the movie as they kind of reminisced about what happened without giving away kind of how everything unfolded. They'd kind of like learn, they would try to add a little backstory about the characters as the film progressed. But in the end, we ended up cutting all of those interviews, and we had they were amazing interviews, and the actors that came to do them, were amazing and did, such great performances that we wrestled with cutting them for 2 years. I would say it was a shorter time from, hey, we have this movie that we want to make, to making the movie, then editing and getting it out there. I mean, we edited many, many, many versions of this movie. And one of them on this kind of, the original script had these interviews with family members played by really great actors and actresses who gave their time. And the reason why they were cut was, the reason why it took so long to cut them is because they were so good. But it took you out of the car. It took you out of it gave you like this break in tension. And it gave the audience a relief in a way that felt counterintuitive to the film. I always said I wanted people to kind of watch this movie like this a little bit, like, and it kind of allowed you to go like, okay, all right, like this is, it released the audience from being stuck in this car with them. The way we shot the film, the camera always feels like it never leaves the confines of the car, except when there's there's exteriors where we go outside to just say like, look how bad it is out here. Look how bad it is. They don't want to, they shouldn't get out here because it's really bad. There's nowhere to go. Now go back in the car. But we were fairly mindful, except for like there was really one key moment where I purposefully wanted the camera to feel like it was leaving the car. But other than that, the camera never, the lens of the camera never left what the confines of the car could be. So it never broke the window frame. It never broke outside the car. So the audience always felt kind of trapped in there with it. And it's the kind of claustrophobia that really drives the film. So the 2002 was just kind of a product of the original script being based on these like two movies that were happening at the same time. One being the movie in the car and one being the documentary that is not making it out there into the world.
And whose decision was that to cut the documentary part? Was it a group decision?
It was a group. I mean, yeah, it was a group decision. I mean, in the end, it's my decision. But I couldn't convince myself that it was better with it in. It was just one of these things that our lead actor, one of our actors has Vincent had this term. It's just like addition by subtraction. It really just changed the way you saw or experienced the film. And, once I saw it that way, I was, it was heartbreaking because it was something that I really, we really worked hard to do, and we really wrote a lot of, and the cast was great and was shot beautifully, and it was like there was no, it was just that it took away from the end product. So there's that term, you have to like kill your babies, and that's one of them. That was one of the babies that we had to kill to get the movie to where it is.
Because you said you wanted the audience to really feel the intensity of being trapped.
Yeah, I mean, I think I always thought the audience would feel that way, regardless. But as, we kind of screened it, we tested it, we, kept going through the process, and there was just something inside of me going, it's not as good. Like, it's better to not have these interviews here. So it was just a kind of, where I explained to those actors that, like, it was like a bad breakup. It's like, it's not you, it's me. It was you were great, but it was like poor. It just didn't work out, and like.
You're too good for me.
Yeah, you're so good. It's not me. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm so sorry. We all thought it was a really good idea, and then it just wasn't as good as this idea was. And in hindsight, we always were like, let's just do this part later. But kind of the machine of production, the kind of like, well, we have everything here, and like the money and the this and the camera and the people to do it, like they're all here. So like, if we just take these 2 days to do it, we should just get it all done, like instead of waiting and trying to do it again later. So